Al, did you transfer with me okay?
I'm here, Patty.
All right, awesome.
I didn't feel a thing either, so worked well.
Sorry, we're a couple minutes late, folks. We've got so many people that are still wanting to register, let alone sign on, which is great. And if I were one of you, I would want to be registering for this webinar today as well. So I'm Patty Fletcher. I'm the program director for America's Newspapers, and thank all of you, each and every one of you, so much for participating today. It just so happens it's my birthday today. So somebody said to me, you're going to do a webinar on your birthday? And I'm like, heck yeah, I got 400, almost 500 people on my birthday party today. So this is awesome. There's nothing I'd rather be doing. So again, thank you for joining us, folks. I'm going to give you a few housekeeping items for today. And I know many of you are repeat webinar offenders, so that's cool. You know the drill, but the most asked question is, are we going to get these slides, Patty? Yes, you are going to get the slides. You're going to get the slides. You're going to get a recording. You are going to get the webinar takeaways, which is a summary that we produce here at America's Newspapers, done by Mark Fitzgerald. It's a really nice one-page summary recap of all the important points that our speaker makes today. So it's a great document for you to have, along with the PowerPoint to share with some of your coworkers. You're going to be muted on the call because we can't have 500 voices talking or phones ringing all at the same time, which reminds me to mute my phone. But we sure want to hear from you, and I know Al wants to hear from you. So if you would be so kind as to type your questions on the Q&A platform, I will make sure that you get them, that Al gets them. And Al would like to take questions during the webinar rather than wait to the end. So we are going to do that. I also have several questions that were sent in advance that I appreciate very much. And so I'm going to alternate those with those you send in at the time of the webinar. Let's see, I told you the webinar is going to be recorded, and so that's it. I'm going to turn the program over to Al so he can get on with the great stuff he's going to talk about. Our speaker is Al Getler with Advantage Newspaper Consultants. He has been in the industry a very long time, and he's done a lot of really great things. And today he's going to share a lot of great information with you. So with that, Al, I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Patty, and good afternoon, everybody. And I hated the way you just said a really long time, Patty, but
I know, I don't know what else to say. He has a very,
let's just go with a very long time, and we'll leave it at that. And happy birthday, Patty, on behalf of everybody out here at America's Newspapers membership. Very exciting that you're joining us on your birthday. Maybe we'll address that later on today. Well, folks,
COVID birthday.
What's that, Patty?
A COVID birthday.
A COVID birthday, yeah. We've had a number of COVID celebrations at our house, including this afternoon at 5:45. My daughter gets inducted into the National Honor Society over Zoom, so that'll be interesting. But these are the adjustments we make, right? Like the Mona Lisa. How's that for a transition right there to my slides? It is an interesting time to be in this business, and really what we're going to talk about today is this time that we're in. You know, we have all enjoyed the celebration of, when you have a great promotion go well, when you have, a month that's made and you've killed it on goal and you've had a big win. And we want to bring that celebration back as quickly as we possibly can. We all know that. But we are faced with the situation that we're in right now with COVID-19, with the pandemic, having closed things down. Now, and this morning's review of the news, all 50 states are taking some move to reopen the economy. That's very exciting. It's going to come in different stages. We are aware. Even states like Georgia, where I've had some reps down in the area from our company, businesses are opening, in their own style, their own fashion, even though Georgia's been open for, a couple of weeks now. So we're going to get used to that pace. We're going to see how that works and how that happens. This crisis is not unusual to some of us who've been in the industry for a while. And as Patty just said, I've been in the industry a long time. I don't remember the Great Depression, but I do remember 9/11, and I do remember, the financial, impact of the recession of 2008. And during that recession of 2008, I was in a group of papers in the Boston area with probably just the most fantastic team you could ever assemble at a newspaper company. we had this situation at hand that, you know, it wasn't certainly as tough as COVID-19 and the pandemic, but there were a lot of things happening in the marketplace that really were semi-disastrous, if you will. There were things happening to our bottom line, our top line, and our expenses that were, you know, semi-disastrous. We had to move, we had to do something, and we decided to come up with a word that really described what we did. And that word, to take us the edge off of looking like this, that we chose was nimble. We became a nimble team. We adjusted to what we had to adjust to, but we also made sure that we reinvented and invented. During the downturn, we added product line. Back at that period of time, you remember the iPhone came out in 2007. By 2008, 2009, apps were becoming the thing. We were very early in the white label app program, and we started a magazine division. All that stuff's still going on today and feeding that organization, and the word nimble is still used there. Let's define nimble for everybody. Nimble, looking here at the at Merriam-Webster's definition. First, quick and light in motion, but let's get to the second one. Marked by quick, alert, clever conception, comprehension, or resourcefulness. That's why the word nimble applies to where we are today. Marked by quick, alert, clever conception, comprehension, or resourcefulness. Resourcefulness runs throughout everything that's going on now, and we'll talk more about newspapers in this in a moment. But let's look at the other side of the word too. I always like to look at synonyms and antonyms for words, and you know, when you look at the synonyms, alert and bright and keen and quick, it's fun to see those kinds of words pop up there. But look at the other side of this. This is the part I find really fascinating. Look at airheaded and bird-brained and knucklehead and lame-brained and thick-headed and thick-witted. None of us want to be known as that. So it requires us to be nimble. So how do you want to be known? That's one of the questions we have to ask ourselves today. As we go out in the marketplace to help our advertisers, our clients, we need to decide, do we want to be nimble or do we want to be something else? So we look at the people that we serve, right? And that's what I'm going to do here for just a moment, is take a look at the businesses that are around me. I'm talking to you right now from the middle of Lake Champlain in Vermont, on an island. And we're an island community that attaches to Vermont on the mainland, and to New York State to a ferry to Plattsburgh, New York. Well, you know, there are certain things we like in our household. We really like bagels. For an Irish Catholic family from New York City, how we became a bagel family the way we are is a great question. But the local bagel shop here in town is called Wally's Place, and Wally's Place is important to us on a number of levels. First of all, it's where I get our bagels. That's important. My 17-year-old daughter works at Wally's as an hourly worker. Really great job, right down the road, perfect. My wife ran Wally's with the ownership for a couple of years. Wally's is important to us. COVID-19 hit and Wally's business changed overnight. You know this, you've seen this story. What was once a nice place where you could go in, order a sandwich, sit down and eat it, talk to friends, grab a cup of coffee, life changed quickly. For Wally's Place, they found themselves having to be closed completely for a short time before they figured it out. And looking at the slide, pick up on a couple of things. First of all, the white banner on the top of the website, online ordering now available, okay? And then on the right-hand side, just below the logo, on the front, on the front page here of the website, above the fold, an ordering portal. That ordering portal was not part of Wally's model prior to the shutdown that happened when COVID-19 hit and our governor decided to close businesses and limit the way we did business. So what they have to do, literally overnight, they had to come up with a new system. They took one window of the building, and that was a takeout window. They then added this ordering system that you go on your phone or on your desktop and order bagels and pick them up 2 days later. They were only open 2 days a week. Now they finally open now. Good news is 6 days a week with masks. But Wally's was nimble. Wally's figured it out. Were they doing the same volume of business that they were doing prior to COVID-19? No, but they figured it out. So, you know, we have the situation where everybody needs money flowing, right? How about a grocery store? In our case, on being nimble, we have Keeler Bay Variety. Keeler Bay Variety is, you know, if you visited our island, you think it's a convenience store. When you go inside and look around and start doing some shopping, it's a full service supermarket, if you will. They have everything. In fact, my favorite saying about Wally's is, if they don't have it, you don't need it. But their motto is, if they don't have it, we'll get it for you. And when it comes to servicing our community and providing service to the customers, when things started happening, we started seeing things change, right? We saw masks and gloves. Then we saw the request for only one family member per family to come in and shop. And the next thing that happened, as you see on your screen, we had curb service come in. Our curb service was something that we had to all work through together. But curb service allowed them not to drop the service that they're so well known for. You could dial in, you could call, you could go to their website. They set up a new system. It wasn't perfect, but like they do at KBV, as we call it, they serve the customer by simply making a couple of phone calls, finding out what you need. You pulled up to the store, they brought your groceries out, and literally everything you possibly could need is at that little store. They had to react. They had to be nimble. So what's the opposite of nimble for these two businesses I'm talking about? The opposite of nimble is to curl up into the corner, shut down, have all your employees laid off until, quote unquote, we can all clear, things are better. They didn't do that. They kept on going. They had to be nimble. So it's time once again for us to take the example of some of our advertisers and clients. It's time for us to be nimble once again. And we've been being nimble for quite some time, but sometimes as an industry, we have to remind ourselves. We have to let ourselves know that we can get the job done. So let's take a look at this for a second. First of all, what about a toolbox? Well, when I first started in this business, we had a pretty limited toolbox. We had a newspaper. That's how we did business, and it worked really well. In fact, I started my career at my hometown newspaper in Hackensack, New Jersey, big 175 daily, 225 on Sunday newspaper. It was a great place to work. There were exciting times, but the tool we had was a newspaper. Today, we have so many things in our toolbox. Not only can we still provide some of the best demographics for people to spend money and hire services in the readers of print newspapers. I'm still a very strong believer in print newspapers. I still have 2 newspapers per day delivered to my home here. And I'm telling you, it's still a great place for an advertiser to advertise. Later on, when we get to questions, we'll talk about that. We also have digital. We are able to offer, beyond run of sight on our own websites, which really does deliver, as you know, a lot of views, and especially during COVID-19, our traffic shot up. But we also provide other tools for businesses. We also can go out and do things like websites that are responsive. One of the things I tell people all the time is, you think your marketplace is covered when it comes to websites, but go ahead and look at some websites of your local businesses on phones and iPads. You'll find out they don't work on. They're still not responsive. We sell responsive sites. We can do programmatic. We can do mobile everywhere. There's all kinds of things that we can do to plan and sell digital for our advertisers. Geofencing, an amazing tool to use for the right advertiser. Our toolbox is full. We have, again, I mentioned magazines, right? A lot of you have glossy magazines. A lot of you have publications in and outside of the daily newspaper that you can deliver a great audience with. So we've got a pretty vast toolbox. We can building block these things together for our advertisers today. We can go to advertisers and we can provide them with things that we otherwise could not provide them. And of course, the thing that's most important is newspapers, the local media. People should know, like, and trust us. If our brand is intact, people should know, like, and trust us, and they should be buying their digital product and their print product from us. Now, I know one thing people are going to say is, you talk about the toolbox, that's great. But, when I started working here, there were more people. There's less people now. Yes, it's absolutely true. I said it. It's there on the slide. We can put that one aside. It is what it is. We have what we have. We move forward and we be nimble. So it came to that point where when we pulled out the pad and mapped out 2020, it's now time for Plan B. None of us saw Plan B having to come. January, February, the economy was white hot. Things were moving along. We were all pretty happy. I was on airplanes, 4 or 5 times a week, sometimes going to markets, and then it all came to a screeching halt. I haven't been on an airplane since March 15th, but the good news is I'm flying again next week for the first time, so that's pretty exciting. But what has to happen? We have to do something very different today. We have to change immediately to provide the market the thing the market needs the most. And that's what's very important about the way we have to become nimble. We have to change. We have to do things that the marketplace needs now. What does the marketplace need now? Well, that's kind of interesting, because already from the questions that Patty and I reviewed that were submitted beforehand, a few of them come down to one thing. Our advertisers need information. So the first question to ask ourselves is, what are we doing to provide advertisers information? We are the source for information, folks. We're a news organization, and most of you are probably on the business and advertising side of the business, but you still can provide information. During the downturn in 2008, our newspaper in the Boston area did a bunch of workshops called Weathering the Storm. We brought in experts in from universities, from large businesses, from small businesses to speak to folks. Well, today we can't do that, right? What we can do is we can provide video to help people learn. And in fact, our company, ANC, we went out and provided video to you. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on our website. There are 25 videos, soon to be almost 30 videos, that cover a vast amount of topics. Our job was to go to you and bring you the information that you need to survive and to move forward and to learn. And not all these folks are newspaper folks. There's a bunch of great newspaper folks. There are some business consultants on there. There are some Disney executives on there. There's a guy from England that's running a botanical garden that's on there with great ideas, filled with information. That's our job to our clients, bring them information. We've also put together a resource that's based on the work we're doing here today with you. And so our job is to react. Our job is to provide information. That's your job as well. So really simply selling stuff for advertisers to buy is no longer the answer. We have to do a lot more. So let's dig a little deeper into that. We have to provide our advertisers, our clients, what they need as they work their way out of this and they move back into the new normal. What is the new normal? I don't know. I'm not here to tell you what I know what the new normal is going to be. In fact, what I can tell you is that regionally around the country, just talking to my clients, my partners, new normal is going to be different every place you go. Some places it's going to be a little bit more like normal. Other places, closer to hotspots, in marketplaces where perhaps you have a more conservative approach to, how it works. It's going to be different everywhere. We'll talk a bit more about that in a bit too. So let's jump into the title of this webinar today, and I'm just going to work to move something off of my screen here. So give me 1 second so I can slide around and be with you guys. There we go. All right, so the 5 ways we must change our sales approach. Number 1, our customer approach needs to change. So we have the word approach here twice. The approach is the approach, but that is the answer. Our customer approach does have to change. We now have to form partnerships with our customers. We have to go from salespeople to advisors. Let me ask you a question. Who in your marketplace speaks to more business people on a daily or weekly basis than the advertising staff of a newspaper? Maybe the Chamber of Commerce, maybe someone who just likes to go around talking to business. I don't know. You guys are experts. You're experts already. You go from an HVAC company to a bakery, from a bakery to a restaurant, from a restaurant to an attorney. You talk to all varieties of businesses. You are chock full of information, and you can share ideas. We need to analyze what they need and present it in one visit, and give the needs analysis a rest for just a little while. Needs analysis are great, especially for the right SMB. They will be the way to go. But right now, customers need things that are going to work. And I quote the gentleman I talked to recently. He said, needs assessment, schmeeds assessment, give me something that's going to work. Why did he say that? Because the radio station did a needs assessment, and the cable company did a needs assessment, and the outdoor company did a needs assessment, and the newspaper did a needs assessment. So there's a little bit of fatigue out there. Come with the answers, be the best business advisor, you're going to get the business. Also, we need to stop doing cold calls and start setting appointments. So I'll say that again. Start setting those appointments and stop depending on the stop in or the cold call. Why? Because business is much more different and much more complicated than it was before. Business owners have more to do just simply by the cumbersome way we go about our lives presently. So don't just stop in and expect someone to drop everything and talk to you. Really important you work on setting appointments. What does that mean? That means that you have to learn how to pick up the phone and be a better telesalesperson. It means you have to pick up the keyboard and be a better email composer, it means you have to do a few other things we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But it puts the onus on you to set those appointments.
Hey, Al.
So, yes.
2 questions. Can I interrupt you here for a second?
Yep.
The first question is regarding cold calling. Are you suggesting that we don't do any cold calling, or that we just not try to sell on a cold call?
I think today, if you're going to do a cold call, it ought to be a stop by and a check-in, if you will, to see how the folks are doing. But if you walk in with 5 flyers plastered on your chest, and what I call do the ad rep kind of, tabletop puke, where all the flyers come popping out, and you talk about the spring preview section and the summer guide and the this and the that, now's not the time for that. Now is not the time to come in there with an unplanned stop by. Instead, now's the time to, if you're going to stop by, either stop in just to say hello, get some ideas, chat for a bit, make a time to come back and have a more formal discussion about what you're going to sell. If you know a customer really well, who am I to tell you how to work with your customers, right? If some customers are just, we all know Charlie at the butcher shop, okay? He doesn't make appointments. You just stop by, all right? I get that, but at least we owe Charlie the respect to find out how he wants to do business given these current times. Does that answer that question, Patty?
Yeah, and I had a couple comments also. So one of the participants said, we call our cold calls visits, which is good. Yeah, and somebody is saying, well, then after we stop by, can we call for an appointment after that? Somebody else said, can we just drop off a card and ask for theirs and leave?
Yeah.
So that was another one.
The biggest thing that people have to be aware of is the fact that if you don't have an appointment and there are other things going on in the business, you have to be careful not to be intrusive. That's all. That's it.
Okay. The last one was,
go ahead.
The last one was, are you suggesting package selling? How do we know what the answers are without asking the questions in an analysis?
Yep, I'm going to get to that one. So great question. And in fact, some of the ideas that I'm presenting too are not just my ideas. What I like to do is I go out and get information from other people in the industry and synthesize a bit. So that's what you're hearing here is some synthesizing of my ideas, confirming of my ideas, and talking to other people that are in the field. And keeping in mind too, we have folks in the field too who not only are selling with newspaper staff, but they're able to take a step back and see what's working and not working. So great questions, absolutely great questions. But I do think, let me go back to that for a second. You want to see a great video on setting appointments? Folks, you can jot this down. It's not in any of the notes you're going to get. There's a guy out there called Mike Brooks. He's not a newspaper industry guy. He's a sales guy. The name of his company is Mr. Inside Sales. Go to YouTube, search Mr. Inside Sales and cold calling, and watch the video. Any of you that have ever been with me in any of my meetings has to watch this video. It's a great video on how to cold call. Learn the art of cold calling over the phone, which is what another name for this, to set appointments. Pick up the phone. If you're calling somebody cold, Ted is not expecting you to call him. Susan is not expecting you to call her and ask for an appointment. So whatever you do, it's a cold call. It's a cold call. So we good, Patty? Keep going?
Yes, sir. Keep going.
All right. So number 2, we will sell audience. It's not just print. It's not just digital. It's not just special sections. It's not just digital contests and promotions. It's audience. So what do I mean by that? I think sometimes we forget that we have this, and I mentioned it before, really, when I say rich, don't necessarily mean wealthy, really strong target audience for our clients and advertisers. We have people who want to know what's going on in the world, who probably are educated, who probably are established, who probably own a home, who probably have money to spend on goods and services and improvements and travel. We have an audience. So instead of getting into the discussion about print versus digital or special sections versus not doing special sections, what's the audience? Who are the people that are looking at the things that you produce? That's what you need to be selling today, and not getting into the discussion necessarily, or defending is a better term, not defending one thing or another, okay? We have a great audience. We have a local audience. Whether local to you is a metro newspaper, a large newspaper, or a small newspaper, you have a unique audience to your marketplace. You have a brand that people know, like, and trust. You know, brand is very important, and we've gotten away from thinking about brand when it comes to newspapers. We own the best brand in the community, right up there with Nike and Coke and Pepsi and Facebook and Instagram, and these days TikTok. We have a brand that's known, very well known in the community. We have an audience. Let's not forget that we have an audience, and it's like, you know, the OG. We have the OG of audiences because we've been in the marketplace for a long, long time. And we don't want to remind people how long we've been around, but we want to remind people that we're here today and we're covering the community today, and we have audience to sell. Number 3, we will package. To your question before, Patty, we will package. Simplification is what the customer needs right now. So figuring out what a customer needs and delivering that to the customer, that's super important. So yes, we will be packaging more and more. It isn't selling the deal or the section of the day. It's putting together things that are going to work for the customer. That doesn't mean you don't sell your special sections, and you don't have quote unquote special deals, and you don't have best of, and you don't have a sports event, and you don't do those things that you normally would do throughout the year, modified to what we are currently under with social distancing. But it does mean you package the right package for the right advertiser. And what am I saying is, and I know I'm going to get challenged a bit by the needs analysis versus non-needs analysis, think about the customer. I mentioned the toolbox before. I have this laptop that I'm on right now, and I could probably get a name of a business in your community, and I could do a little bit of Googling, and I could look at their website, and I could look at the news that's been written about them. I could look at a few other things. I could check out the local Rotary Club perhaps. I can figure out who that business is, and I can probably come pretty close to who that business wants to talk to. So the question I have for you with your customers, do you understand your customer's persona? Not their personality, not the owner is grouchy or likes to tell jokes. No, the persona. Who is it that they are trying to speak to in their advertising? Can they describe these people to you? Can they give them names? Can they tell you what kind of house they live in, what kind of car they drive, where they like to eat, what they like to do with their leisure time? If an advertiser has a defined persona, you can deliver a package to them. And so the question really becomes, when it comes to a needs analysis, I like to call it right now a needs analysis on the fly. Ask them if they know who their audience is. Maybe the word persona might sail over, but ask them, who is their target audience? Can they describe them? Can they even give them a name? That helps you decide what kind of packages to sell. So it is selling what they need, plus the content that it needs to be writing with, plus the audience that it's going to. Okay, I'll say it again. It is selling what we need, plus the content, plus the audience that it's going to. We sell a lot of entertainment guides with newspapers in the industry, okay? What's an entertainment guide? It has streaming content. It has puzzles. It has articles about celebrities. A lot of them now have local arts and entertainment that's been combined into these sections. They are entertainment sections, okay? People ask me, what's the best advertisers for these sections? One of the things I quip about is the best advertisers are the one that pays their bill. What do I mean by that? I mean, anybody can be in these sections because it catches people at their leisure time. It's a great time to talk to the audience because of the content and because the audience wants what's inside these books. So that's what I mean by attaching the sale to the content to the audience. You know, and finally, one thing that's been stressed talking to a lot of you out there is right now, be a little bit flexible on commitment. Be a little bit flexible on that contract, perhaps, on some of your, not all of your products. Some of your products absolutely require a 1-year commitment to really have the best delivery, if you will, a program that they're constantly in front of the customer. Very important, of course. We all know that, all right? But just think about commitment, especially think about the age of the business. Think about the category of the business during COVID-19, and think about what they're going to need to kind of rev the engine and start. So let me pause there, Patty, and see if you have any questions that might relate to any of that.
Nope, we're good right now.
We'll keep on going. So I want to tell you one thing too, as we go through this list, and I'm going to watch time carefully. I do have a kind of a bonus list for you from some of the colleagues in the industry. So hang around. We'll get to that bonus list a little bit later on, but some more suggestions that are in and above and beyond the 5. So back to the top 5. Number 4, we will become a center for ideas. This goes back to what I said before. Folks, there's nobody that gets around town the way you do right now on the phone or on Zoom, excuse me, or going out in the car and literally stopping in, talking to people you have appointments with, finding out what's going on. We should be spending a lot more time during our sales calls today asking questions about how they're doing, how their family is, how is business, listening, a lot more listening. And it's in the listening that we're going to get more ideas that we can spread and share. So what do you do with these ideas that you accumulate? Well, I showed you the videos that we did. You can do videos. Heck, your iPhone, you can shoot just the most amazing 4K video on your iPhone. With iMovie, you can edit it. You can add titles. You can be a movie director. You can put literally idea videos together and email them out, even just to your own territory if you're a territory salesperson. If you're an advertising director, you can put it together with your staff and put out a video once a week. As a publisher, you can go out with the staff and have both news and advertising ideas and get those out to people on video. Share ideas through email. Take your email, as powerful as it is. If you want to be in a person's email box and be welcome, give them something they need to know. How about a virtual weekly idea sharing session, like right here on GoToWebinar or on Zoom or on a new tool I'm going to show you later on? How about a webinar from the entire newspaper sponsored by that talks to the advertisers? I mentioned before our series, Weathering the Storm. Why can you not do a seminar, a webinar on Zoom or on GoToWebinar or some other platform that helps people understand what it's going to take to reopen in your community? Get the experts, bring them on there, talk to them during the webinar. Be the place for advertisers to get information that they need today that's above and beyond what just to buy. Because guess what? When it comes time to buy, they're going to go to you because you're the one that brought them the information. A state of the market, another thing. A lot, right now where we live, we're in the middle of a lake with New York on one side and Vermont on the other. Our television half of the day is dedicated to press conferences by governors. Okay, that's nice, but I don't really know what's going on locally. So can the newspaper do something like that? Can the newspaper have an open webinar for the entire community to tune in and hear the mayor and the health department and local businesses talk about what's going on? Just some ideas thrown out there. Finally, this one too, I want to thank Scott Champion because he confirmed something that I was thinking, and I think this is so true. We ought to be doing webinars on how our advertisers can get into the e-commerce business. I showed you Wally's Bagel Shop for a reason. That's simply an e-commerce app that's attached to their website. So why shouldn't you find someone out there that's an expert that already is doing e-commerce and do a webinar on how to set up a store within a store in your local community and be the sponsor of this workshop? What an amazing opportunity to not only present the seminar, the webinar, but then to turn around and perhaps do a section that advertises who has e-commerce available. And also people have to know to go to the e-commerce. You've got a whole opportunity to sell print and digital right there. Think about information. Think about being the center of ideas. And then number 5 kind of is partnered with that. We will be the technology-based sales professionals. That's the bottom line. Sorry, folks, there's no longer excuses for not knowing how to, quote unquote, do certain things. If you can't do something digitally, if you can't figure it out, go hire a 16-year-old to help you out. Last week, I signed up for a webinar put on by Fast Company magazine. I watched a young man who is the CEO of a company. He was 21 years old, a company that's bringing in millions, and all they do is create TikTok brand videos. The name of the company is called Flight House. Look them up. Go to TikTok if you have the app and look up Flight House and see what they're up to. My 17-year-old daughter walked into my auto when I was watching it, and she looked at the screen. She said, "Who's that guy? Who's that kid?" is what she said. I said, "He's the CEO of a company." She went, "Wow." Well, you know what? Learn from a young person. If you don't know how to do it yourself, learn. If you are a young person and haven't tackled TikTok yet, tackle it, learn, figure it out. We need to understand Zoom and Google Meet. We need to understand platforms like GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting. We need to not only be expert users, we need to be expert hosts. We need to be able to use the technology like a champ and put together a meeting of one with our, two people, you and the advertiser, or a meeting with a bunch of people, but be the expert. Start using tools like Google Calendar. Here's the thing. I know you've all experienced it. You wake up and you go, what day is it again? I mean, it's getting better because we're getting back to work, but Google Calendar is amazing. I have it on my phone. I would not think of going anywhere without first checking my Google Calendar. And if I don't put what I have to do in my Google Calendar, it absolutely positively is not either going to get done, or I'm going to miss an appointment, or whatever. But a friend of mine, Michael Hyatt, says, what gets scheduled gets done. That's in that little book that we wrote. What gets scheduled gets done. Utilize your Google Calendar. Utilize the calendar in your phone. Tie the two together is really the bottom line. Use the Google Calendar in your phone and on your desktop and everywhere else you go. It's amazing because you can also send and invite people to meetings. It has some new features that you can confirm that you can schedule Zoom over Google Calendar. If you just use Google Chrome and put the attachment onto your calendar, you're all set to go. You plug that in and you're off. And email templates. This is something else. Email templates. I just used this last week, and I'm going to show it to you in a second. Bottom line is geek out. Learn how to use technology to your benefit, because right now, I got to tell you, Zoom, I joined Zoom, I think 2.5 years ago, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I was going through the airport in Phoenix, and I saw a digital billboard that said zoom.us. It had an attractive message and a picture. And I literally, while I was on the moving sidewalk, took out my phone, typed in zoom.us. When I got to my gate, I sat down and I looked and I read about it and I signed up immediately. Good, strong tool. Adopt things early. Adapt and adopt early. Really important. Be technology based. So let's talk about putting some of this stuff to use. I'm sure some of you, Patty, can you raise hands in this in GoToWebinar? I forget. I'm more of a Zoom user by admission. No? Okay. Well, I was just curious how many of you actually hosted Zoom meetings. So if you hosted a Zoom meeting and you're able to raise a hand or vote or say yes, go ahead and say yes in your chat right now if you have hosted a Zoom meeting or something like it. And if you have, congratulations, because that's awesome. The fact that you have gone in and talked to an advertiser or talked to a potential client and done a presentation. As you can see, I'm doing a PowerPoint right now. You can put a 5-6 slide deck together and propose something to an advertiser and get that done lickety-split. This is kind of interesting. This is what I was talking about a moment ago. What you're looking at on the screen, and I apologize, I'll look down to look at my screen. What you're seeing here is my inbox on Gmail, and what you're seeing is a blank email form ready to be typed out on and sent out as an email. You'll notice on the lower right-hand side, there's the tags that I brought up with the 3 little dots on the bottom. The one I'm interested in this is the one that says templates. And in templates, I have one template in there. It's called 5 Ways Our Sales Approach, ... This is an email that I sent out to some folks looking for some feedback. So I used a template. What's the advantage of the template? I didn't have to write the body of the email one single time. I pressed that button, the email was written, I popped in a name and I attached a file, and boom. In fact, the only frustrating part to me was that I couldn't permanently attach the file to that template, so I didn't have to add the file as well. But that's how easy that was. And once you do it, you're off and running. So what I did next to show you is I did a new template. I wrote this email that just says, join us for an idea sharing session. Folks who are going to speak during the session are the owner of Wally's and the owner of Keeler Bay, and the fire chief's going to talk about the high school senior parade we're having in a couple of Saturdays from now. Please join our meeting. Here's the link. And now all I have to do is pop in the recipient's email and the subject line, and we're off. So we save that as a template. We'll call it Friday Idea Session. And then next time I open up my email, there it is. I tap on Friday Ideal Sessions, and it's there and filled out. And now I can fill that out. I can invite Tim Cook from Apple to join in on that meeting, and we're off and running. A simple tool for you to use, something you can even teach an advertiser how to use. You make yourself so much more valuable when you can do that kind of stuff. Also new inside of your Gmail account, if you have Gmail, is this start a meeting button. Google has decided to wake up and change Hangouts a little bit. They now call it Google Meeting. You can start a meeting immediately and invite people, and you can host that meeting, and you're off and running. It's so new. I was fooling around with it today. Has a couple of flaws I'm working on, but the premise of it is really you start the meeting, you send out the link, you wait for people to show up, and you're there, or you have a meeting number that's unique to you, and you can invite people to a meeting on a Google Calendar invite. So again, another new tool that's out there. So let me pause here for a second. I'm going to take a sip of water, and I'm going to see if Patty has any questions.
I do have some questions, and I wanted to tell you that about 1 million people said yes, they are using Zoom. I didn't realize I was muted, so you couldn't hear me. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Good. I'm glad people are hosting. I think at some point we're going to have a contest in the newspaper industry to who hosts the best Zoom meetings. So we'll put that out there. Okay. What do you have for questions, Patty?
Well, I'll tell you about our Zoom. We decided we've had now 3 Zoom happy hours.
Yeah.
So because we realized, we're in these meetings, and we were all kind of like, one of these days we ought to just be able to have a drink. And somebody said, we should sit down and have a drink together. So we had this happy hour. The first time we had it, my boss scheduled it at 6:30 to 7:15, and we were on till 9:30 at night. It was just amazing how, and we didn't talk work. It was just so fun to hear all the different things people are doing and coping, and it was great. So I would say use Zoom for more than just meetings.
Well, one of our clients, Park Rogers, wrote to me that we should be doing cocktail hours, chamber type things. That's a great idea. How about hosting a cocktail hour as a newspaper? I love that, Patty.
Yeah, somebody just put in, our chamber is doing business after hours via Zoom. So that's fun. This question came in way early in the webinar. Can you explain what geofencing is, Al?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So geofencing, we'll use an auto dealer as one example. I'm looking to buy a car, and I'm looking to buy a Toyota, and there's a Toyota dealership that's among other Toyota dealerships in a geographical area. I can geofence my dealership so that, first of all, when you're looking at Toyota, you're getting my dealership. I can set a couple of parameters around that so that all roads lead back to me and my dealership. But I can geofence anything. We can geofence. Obviously, geofencing is a bit more costly, not unreasonable, but you want to be able to have a purposeful product for geofencing. But the idea is simply that: geography and fencing, and getting the message delivered to a target audience within inside a geographical area.
Great, thank you. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you cut out for a second, but I got you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Somebody wants to know where they can buy a camera for their PC for Zoom. I think you can get them on Amazon, right? I mean, I
love that question. Yeah, I can give you an update on that. I just was helping somebody the other day. So the camera I'm presently using, let me see if I can. I'm going to risk this because my desktop changed a little bit. I'm going to turn my camera off for a second. Did that work, Patty?
No, we see.
You can see me, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'm talking to you on a Logitech Brio 4K camera. I am not using the microphone on this camera. This camera, if I could take the camera and aim it at the camera, I'd show you. It's on a tripod. It's shaped like that. It cost me about $200. It has a USB that plugs into the side of my computer. I can either hang it off my laptop like most people do, or in this case, I put it on a tripod so I can kind of set up the newsroom effect here where I do all different types of programming right here in my office at home. So I also use, and I can bring that to the camera, instead of using just the microphone off of the camera itself, I'm using a blue microphone. Blue is the name of it. It's called a Yeti microphone. The Yeti microphone has multiple settings, so I can do a stereo talk, I can do a mono talk, I can also switch a button, and if I have a lot of people around a table, it can take in a full audio effect. So I can get a group of people talking and capture their voice. So the way to go is to go to a couple of places. Go to Amazon. The prices went up. I can tell you right now, there's a little bit of price gouging going on cameras. one of the best places to go to get a camera, believe it or not, is Walmart. I've sent a few people to Walmart who were looking for a camera, and Walmart had them. Target, same kind of thing. Best Buys are opening up around the country now. Get yourself a good camera for your computer. If you don't have one on your computer already, it's worth it. Apple iPads work fantastic just as an all-in-one camera and microphone.
Yeah, I just had a little, because I didn't like where my camera was. I have a little clip-on Logitech. Works great.
Perfect. Yep, exactly it. Yeah.
Let me give you a couple other questions that came in.
Sure.
So here's one. Discuss challenges of selling in a sub-market of a major metro area where customers have way more choice than in small towns.
Well, I love that question. Because very simple, I said something before that we were the first Facebook, or I mentioned Facebook as a brand. We were the first Facebook, and we lost track of that somehow. We are the ones that are local. So if you're a sub-market within a market, where I mentioned the Boston papers, they were not in Boston. My papers were the suburbs of Boston. So, I was fighting against 2 Boston metro newspapers with my local newspapers. Local is the only way to go. And you say, well, wait a minute, Al, my newsroom doesn't have that many people anymore. We can only churn out a couple of stories a day. You know what? What about reader submitted? I'll tell you what, right now, I have something in my pocket right now that has a bazillion reader submitted photos on it. It's called Facebook. It's called Instagram. Get people to submit photos to your newspapers, or ask your newsroom to stop throwing them out and start utilizing, or maybe take over a page or 2 from the advertising department, get it sponsored, and feature local photos. Feature things that are happening in the communities. Some photographers in communities have been doing a great thing. They've been going around taking front porch portraits of families during the COVID-19 crisis. Gather those, put them in a newspaper. Do a pets page, local. Get it in there, make it local. So the way you fight in a sub market within a big market is to be that much more local. Get more local stuff in your paper that the local, or that the metro area paper or the larger company is not going to have, and you will be more valuable, not less valuable. The other day, I'm on the fire department here in my town, one of my fellow firefighters, younger guy, was in the Burlington Free Press in a nice article on Sunday. You can't get a better article than that. And of course, everybody's having a great time with the fact that he was featured in that local story. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
Great. So how can you convince a business that is barely surviving financially to advertise?
Well, I don't think you can, convince per se, but you can help. If you go and look at some of the videos that we've done, there's a lot of stories out there about them. Lee, as a company, is doing it. I think Matt Davison in Nampa, Idaho, just announced a grant program. That's the larger program, but here's the deal. And if this is one rep asking for his clients, if you've got a customer out there that's barely hanging on, go back to your boss and say, hey, can I do a 2-for-1 deal? Can I do a bonus package? Can I do a thing if they spend $1,000, we'll give them $1,000? What can you do to help that client? I don't know if you're going to convince someone who's looking at an empty checkbook that day that they're going to have to advertise. I mean, you're going to have a receivable at the end of the day, right? How about helping them along? How about providing more value? Put an expiration on it. Tell them it's going to end July 31st. Go out and look. If you haven't done this already, go and search newspaper grant programs, and you'll find a bunch of stories out there on Google alone about that. Or I don't want to make this salesy, but go to our website and watch a couple of the videos from some of the people that are talking about that, and you'll find some great resources there. So please check that out. But I would say bring value, Patty. That's it. That's how you're going to quote unquote convince someone to advertise.
Can you talk a little bit about small papers that are weekly papers in towns the size of 1,200 to 1,500 that are up against closing stores, people buying at big fine? Small stores are competing with these markets. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
The questions are rolling, so hold on, sorry. Small stores are competing with these markets, and our papers are competing for these dollars as we go digital.
Yeah, in my community, we have a small weekly newspaper that's been struggling. First of all, they did start a donation program to help them kind of shore things up. But secondly, you know, the fight is going to be tough because you can't just give away, like some large companies are doing, $100,000, $1 million worth of credits. But keep in mind, again, your interest rate is lower, the cost for an ad in your paper is lower. What can you do to bring more value to the advertiser? Email, I just mentioned email. Can you add an email component to what you're doing? Can you do something different on your website to be more valuable on a daily basis by posting 1 or 2 things a day, engaging interest and keeping the audience going, and then selling more around that? You have an audience that nobody else is going to have, so you can't stop the local. That's why people pick up a weekly newspaper. So obviously, to have the resources to do that, you have to have the money coming in. To have the money coming in, you have to be nimble. To be nimble, you're going to have to sit down, think fresh. Don't be afraid of a blank sheet of paper, and start looking and seeing what other people are doing and incorporating that into your newspaper. Not knowing your particular situation, I can't, you know, get to, you know, to the really, you know, detailed part of that. But by all means, reach out to me. Let's talk about it. Maybe we can figure something out together.
You got a nice compliment from somebody that says they appreciate that your comment about newspaper survival, print newspaper survival relies on being local, local, local. They say thank you. Happy to see someone gets it. What do you do when you give them the expiration date on the deal and they come back and say, we want that again, or we won't come back?
Well, you know, look, eventually it comes down to the rubber meets the road, right? You're not going to give away the farm forever. You know, I think when people do that, oftentimes in my career, when I've had ultimatums like that, I've had to chomp down and say, I'm sorry, I gave you that special deal for a special reason. Now I have a business to run, you have a business to run. Let's talk about how we can keep you going on a smaller basis maybe, or a different way, or something that has a more precise audience for what it is you're selling. But, you know, I don't necessarily like the fact that you're putting a gun to my head and saying, I want the same deal or else. We can work something out.
Great. Somebody made a comment, a daily news source with a weekly paper. They were just talking about, they were saying, you know, be a daily news source with a weekly paper.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Look, again, I'm just going to say real quickly, okay? This equipment in every one of our pockets is the most powerful news gathering and reporting tool that is out there, okay? And you are the original Facebook. Don't get all crazy about how you do it. Snap a photo, put it on your website. Snap a photo, do a daily email blast for your weekly newspaper, even your daily. Figure out how to use the technology. Be nimble. Yes, your staff is the size it is. I understand that. So I want to get to that in a minute, which is the next couple of slides, Patty. Can I do that real quick?
Yep.
All right. So what are you going to do about how you're going to be more nimble? First of all, great book. Everybody should read it. Doesn't matter if you're just starting your career, if you're going to reread it because you read it 20 years ago. Good to great. An amazing book about great companies, an amazing book about, you know, there's a new book out now called Atomic Habits. I haven't read it yet, but I listened to a podcast with the guy who wrote the book yesterday. But good to great. These are atomic habits, okay? But the bottom line is, Jim Collins said this in the book, page 139. Most of us lead busy but undisciplined lives. We have ever-expanding to-do lists, trying to, you know, I'll paraphrase real quick, trying to keep the momentum to doing, and it rarely works. Those who build the good to great companies, however, made as much use of the stop doing list as they do the do list. I'll say it again, the stop doing list as they do the do list. They displayed a remarkable discipline to unplug all sorts of junk, all right? That's the bottom line. Let's go to what we have here, and again, you know, it's in our handout, the stop doing list. This is what you have to ask yourself. If there are less people in your department, there's some stuff that's going to have to stop. There's some things you're not going to be able to do anymore. So individually figure it out, or as a department figure it out, or as a newspaper figure it out. But there are going to be some things you have to stop doing, start doing others. On a personal basis, I have things like stop getting a slow start in the morning and dig in. This one drives me nuts. Add stuff that show up, talk about what was on TV live. You know, by the time they get done with that chat, it's 9:30, 9:45. We do a couple of emails. We put a couple of tickets in. We complain about the ad system. We figure out at 11:45, you know, not so much right now, but maybe we're going to order lunch. We get around to lunch. By the time we start talking to clients, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, saw a client, yeah, it's 3 o'clock, got to do my paperwork. Get a good start, get going, put a lot of action into your day, you know, schedule. I put stop whining on this list because every ed director's office I seem to go to around the country, the stop whining sign is hanging in it. So I made that part of it. Stop using paperwork as an excuse not to sell. Figure out a smarter way to do your paperwork. Selling is you're called a salesperson, not a paperwork person. Okay, figure that out. Stop. Yes, go ahead.
Are you reading? Do you have slides? Because it's not showing your slides.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not put it up there? I'm very sorry. There they go. You got that?
Okay. Yep.
Very good. My bad. So, you know, the quote that we have here is going to be in your handout. If you wanted to go to that quote, page 139 of the book, mention that. Sorry, stop doing list. This is what the stop doing list looks like, okay? The other thing is on there is stop stopping in, make appointments. What? Well, that's respectful to their time, but guess what? It's also respectful to your time, okay? So if you have a block of time where you have set appointments, it's a lot different than getting in the car and doing cold calls for 3 hours and getting absolutely nowhere. You just spent 3 hours getting nowhere. I would rather have 4 solid appointments where I'm going to get something done than 3 hours of cold calls that get me nowhere. Think about that, okay? What are you going to stop doing? Then, of course, the other side of the coin is, what are you going to start doing? What are you going to begin doing today, or given the time of day, maybe tomorrow? How about how to use that new feature we talked about, or how to learn more about Zoom, or here's another article for you, how to have a clutter-free workspace. Go out and get some advice. There's a link in there for you. You know, begin a weekly idea sharing that we mentioned for your customers. Take a good idea from one business, think of somebody else, and do it for another. If you've taken the Myers-Briggs or the DISC survey about yourself, I know in DISC I am a connector. My brain is always like, if I'm at a function and I meet somebody and he mentions something and I say, I know this person, she's got this business, you guys would be great together. I'm constantly connected. Become a connector, okay? Implement your phone's calendar to every part of your day, every part of your planning. And as it says on the bottom there, what gets scheduled gets done. So stop doing some things, start doing another. Start doing more video. Start figuring out how you can utilize technology to make your life faster, better, easier, be more of a resource, be more of an advisor, be more of a person that people depend upon, not just a salesperson that walks in the front door and they kind of roll their eyes, okay? Here's the bonus area. I'm going to go through these super quick, Patty. Watching my time. I'm over time already. Do you want me to go through the bonuses, or you want to answer more questions?
Go ahead.
So real quickly, some ideas from other people in the industry. Scott Champion, we must do a better job of using email blasts to reach customers. We talked about that. Figure out how to do your own territory email blasts if you've got a territory. If you don't have a territory, but you're an ad director or publisher, are you using MailChimp or something like that? Are you keeping a good, clean list? Kelly from the Celine Courier says, be creative and encourage newspaper managers to have some added value to all sales. We talked about this already. We're glad you're open. It's a small way to say you're back. Here's a, buy one, get one free the first time or something like that. David Stringer, the Lawton Constitution, sell the solution, not the product. Do not pitch anything unless you can explain specifically how it benefits the client. We talked about that. That is the pre-needs needs analysis. Jason Gwinnett, one of our good partners at the Medina Gazette, don't be afraid to contact your advertisers for fear of being opportunistic. Many welcome the contact. Many, I'll add to Jason's comment, welcome the ideas, okay? Kelly Nicholson, some business owners are lost, so we need to offer advice to them to help them innovate, as in selling online, delivering products, building a pickup window. Boom, how about a webinar of just people who are doing curbside pickup right now and how to do a better job of it. Newspapers can take a leadership role and do that. It's a Zoom webinar. It's a conference call. It's a whatever. Get it done. Start providing some value. Darren here, the Yuma Sun, don't bombard them with options. Design a few highly appealing menu choices for our customers to choose from. They need to be appealing to potential customers to get them started, and include options for current customers to grow into as their results increase. So in other words, Darren's saying the same thing. Figure it out for the customer, present it, and get them going, And I'm not saying needs analysis, schmeeds analysis forever, but I am thinking right now that we've got to get customers up and running. Jennifer Marshall, we must be sensitive to our customers' needs. They are struggling like the rest of us, so we need to determine how we can best help them attempt to regain a sense of normalcy. Great, absolutely. You know, we can help in that sense of no one knows what normalcy is going to be quite yet or when, but, you know, we can be a partner in figuring that out. Parks Rogers, I love this, okay? When it comes to showing up on a sales call, I'm not going to get involved in the no mask discussion. This is why I love what Park says. Show up with a full mask, glove, and hand sanitizer. Never be the party interaction that makes a customer uncomfortable. If preparedness seems to be overkill, then back down, okay? But you don't need to be the one that shows up improperly prepared without, you know, as an EMT, the proper PPE. You know, we don't show up anywhere without the proper PPE, and you as a salesperson should be doing the same. You can always back down. Great, Parks. Thank you very much for that. Jamie Keith, email call versus dropping by unannounced. Singing off the song sheet. Set an organized structure for your emails. Make them consistent and brief so clients want to get back to you. Consistent and brief, very important. You know what? If you don't know how to write a good email, there are about a bazillion posts that you can Google how to write a great email. So there are more ideas in our ebook. We can get to those later on. So, you know, Patty, as I'm summing up here, our job is to get our pajama pants off. Our job is to get away from home and get back out there and sell, to not be on a Zoom call on the couch with a, and by the way, I don't have pajama pants on right now. So that's our job, and to get to our customers to the point where they can say, we're open. And we can get back eventually with our team and celebrate and not have to worry about social distancing. That day will come, folks. Hang in there. You know, I get a little patriotic for a second. We are a great country. We figure things out. We will get beyond this. I'm quite confident that we will. And I think newspapers need to lead that charge because we are the local brand in the community. It was a pleasure for us to be here today at ANC, and we appreciate this opportunity. We most importantly appreciate our partnership with America's newspapers. Folks, be healthy, be safe. And like I said, I'm getting on an airplane next week for the first time, so maybe I'll see you at your place soon.
Okay. Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We can't deliver these to help folks without people like you. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.
Thanks for participating, everybody. And have a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you. You guys made my birthday a blast. Thanks.